Listen up, everybody. I am chasing a massive goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers, and I cannot get there without you. If you dig what we are doing here, smash that subscribe button this instant. Let's be real, watching Carlos Alcaraz swing a racket hits differently than watching literally anyone else on the pro circuit today. It goes way beyond those impossible athletic feats, or how he makes the most insane winners look like a walk in the park. It is that unteachable X factor, that vibe that he is having the time of his life while absolute destroying the guy on the other side of the net, following his recent demolition of Corentin Moutet at this Grand Slam, finishing with a crushing 6-2, 6-4, 6-1, one scoreline that showcased all the signature Alcaraz magic. The Spanish prodigy gave us a rare glimpse into the inner workings of his camp. He specifically pulled back the curtain on the critical role played by his brother, Alvaro. And to be honest, the insight he dropped is way more important than most fans might understand at first glance. You saw the tweeners, obviously, because is it even an Alcaraz game if he doesn't do something that makes you doubt the laws of gravity? His game at the net was sharp, hostile, and kept Moutet constantly second-guessing every single move. But looking past the SportsCenter top 10 moments, the real story was his mental steel, his tactical rigor, and the feeling that Alcaraz had a blueprint for victory and followed it with cold-blooded precision. We were watching more than just raw skill. We were witnessing a high-performance engine firing on all cylinders. And here is where the narrative shifts, because during the post-match presser, when Alcaraz began discussing his squad, he skipped the standard, boring platitudes that athletes usually recite. He got into the nitty-gritty details, specifically focusing on his brother, Alvaro. If you are a hardcore tennis junkie, you have probably spotted Alvaro sitting in the box, but he usually stays in the background while heavy hitters like coach Juan Carlos Ferrero take the spotlight. That dynamic is shifting, and Alcaraz explicitly stated that his sibling has evolved into what he termed the glue of the operation. Let that concept sink in for a moment. He didn't say assistant or sidekick. He said the glue, the essential bond keeping the whole structure intact. What does that actually look like in real life? Well, as Alcaraz tells it, Alvaro has stepped into a massive responsibility that transcends what the cameras catch on the court. He has morphed into the central hub connecting every moving part of Team Alcaraz, the guy who guarantees everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet, that information is moving freely, and that zero details get lost in the shuffle. Conditioning experts, dietitians, business managers, and niche consultants. So, having a point man to wrangle that chaos is non-negotiable. It seems Alvaro's position grew naturally over the years. In the beginning, he was just there as a brother, offering the kind of moral support only siblings can provide. But as Carlos skyrocketed from a hotshot junior to a Grand Slam winner and the #1 player on earth, the logistical nightmare surrounding him grew 10 times over. Suddenly, you have a crowd to manage, endless calendars to align, high-stakes calls to make, and massive weight on every decision. Having someone who truly gets Carlos the human being, rather than just Carlos the athlete, became a priceless asset. Alvaro can read when his brother needs breathing room versus when he needs a push. He understands the family vibes, the background, and the personal road that molded Carlos into the icon he is right now. He has punched his ticket to the second week of a major again, which feels like standard procedure for him these days. But the hype and expectations weighing on his shoulders have gone into the stratosphere. The media microscope is unforgiving. The demand for perfection never stops. The physical toll of the tour is savage. Surviving that grinder requires a tether to reality, a link to your true self outside the game, which is mandatory for staying sane and winning long-term. That is exactly where the family unit, and Alvaro specifically, becomes the MVP. There is a solid reason why the history books are full of tennis legends who kept family embedded in their inner circles. The Williams sisters had the legendary guidance of their dad Richard and mom Oracene. Novak Djokovic has leaned heavily on his kin for decades. Andy Murray had his mom Judy coaching him early on, and his brother Jamie as his training partner and confidant. These blood bonds offer something that's strict business. Arrangements, no matter how elite, often fail to deliver. Unwavering loyalty and love that doesn't care about the final score. Think about the darkest moments in sports, the crushing defeats, the agony of injury, the nights where nothing goes right and realizing your bloodline backs you not because you won, but because you are family. Yet, when you peel back the layers of Alvaro's position, as Carlos himself paints the picture, you see a transformation from simple cheerleader to essential architect. Calling him the glue hints at a role that is mechanical, almost industrial in its necessity. he has quietly morphed into the gatekeeper, the guy absorbing the chaotic tidal wave of daily minutia that would otherwise drown a superstar athlete. It is the gritty, tireless work of aligning practice, blocks across a sprawling team, ensuring every racket is strung to perfection, every towel is ready, and navigating the nightmare of international travel logistics, acting as the human filter between the talent and the noise, becoming the ultimate sounding board for every critical move. The vital arteries that keep the heart beating, granting a warrior the luxury of focusing strictly on the warfare of elite tennis. It is captivating to watch this dynamic unfold against the backdrop of how the sport itself has mutated. Rewind the clock 2 decades, and the scene was starkly different. Players were lone wolves. Perhaps a coach, maybe a hitting partner, and that was the entire squad. Today, the tour is a different beast, ruthless, demanding, and hyper-professional, turning athletes into walking corporations that require serious management. The titans of the court now move like heads of state, flanked by armies of specialists. You have the architects of physical conditioning creating periodized masterpieces, the physiotherapists holding the biological machine together under immense strain, the nutritional alchemists fueling the engine, the sports psychologists fortifying the mind, and the suits handling the empire of endorsements and contracts. Orchestrating this chaotic symphony of experts is a full-time occupation. If the athlete is forced to sit at the center of this spiderweb, constantly tugging strings and relaying messages to ensure the machine doesn't jam, by slotting Alvaro into that command center, Carlos is liberated to be an artist with a racket instead of a frantic administrator. It mirrors the corporate world perfectly. The most efficient CEOs have a chief of staff running the daily grunt so they can dream up the next billion-dollar vision. The fact that the young Spaniard chose to shine a spotlight on this publicly tells you everything. He could have easily kept his brother's promotion in the shadows. He could have recited a robotic press release about team effort, but he paused to specifically elevate his brother's labor and validate its critical weight. It reveals a profound maturity and a sense of gratitude that defines the man behind the racket. Even with the world at his feet and the roar of the crowd in his ears, he knows the solo genius is a myth. He grasps that every trophy lift is powered by an invisible engine of support, by people grinding away in the dark so he can shine in the light. This structure also opens a window into the soul of his career philosophy and his personal grounding. He preaches the gospel of joy, of keeping your head straight, and of never severing the lifeline to his home in Murcia. Planting his brother at the core of his operation is a strategic move to keep that home fire burning while he conquers the globe. When existence becomes a blur of sterile hotel rooms and departure lounges, hopping time zones like stones on a pond, family is the only gravity you have left. It serves as a constant compass, reminding you of your origin story when the rest of the world feels fleeting and fake. We have witnessed a terrifying stability in his play, a newfound ability to hold his ground regardless of the venue or the variables. Sure, the boy is becoming a man, gaining battle scars and wisdom, but do not underestimate the power of a well-oiled machine humming in the background, ensuring the background logistical chaos is tamed so his mind can remain a sanctuary dedicated solely to the sport. When you aren't wasting brainpower worrying if the team has the zoom in on the clash with Mote, and you see the undeniable proof of this harmony in action. The Spaniard stepped onto the clay with a blueprint in his mind and executed it with surgical precision from the opening serve. He anticipated the disruption, the drop shots, the slicing madness, the weird rhythms, and he was ready. Instead of biting on the bait or letting frustration derail his rhythm, Alcaraz held his ground with icy composure, unleashed his freakish athleticism to hunt down every ball. Mote launched, and eventually crushed the Frenchman's spirit with relentless power and accuracy. You don't get that kind of disciplined dominance by a fluke. It is the payoff from grueling homework, razor-sharp strategy, and the deep-seated belief that your squad has armored you for war. Sure, the crowd scream for the between-the-legs trick shots and the highlight reel magic. That is just the garnish, the flashes of genius that elevate a good player to a legend. But the bedrock beneath those fireworks? That is built by the crew in the box. The lungs that let Alcaraz sprint for impossible returns are built by his fitness torture sessions. The tactical tweaks that sharpen his weapons come from the masterminds on the sidelines. Keeping his mind bulletproof through a brutal 2-week campaign requires a precise cocktail of recovery, food, and psychology. And more, it looks like the conductor orchestrating this symphony is his brother, Alvaro. There is a poetic irony that, in the ultimate solo sport, winning is actually a group project. Tennis is the loneliest game on earth because once the clock starts, you are on an island. No timeouts to strategize. No substitutions when your legs get heavy. You are solving puzzles at 100 miles an hour while the world watches. But the blueprint for survival is drawn up together. The grind in the gym, the film study, the ice baths, the game plan, the mental armor. All of it is forged by a village lending their brains and their backs. As Alcaraz pushes deeper into the draw, his support system faces the real fire test. The second week of a major is a different beast. The enemies are deadlier. The pressure is suffocating. The body screams louder. There is no camouflage. One slip means death. It stops being just about your forehand. It becomes an audit of your grit, your lungs, your nerves, and your homework. Rolling with a crew that hums like a Ferrari engine, where trust is absolute, gives you a massive edge. And maybe that is the secret weapon that Alvaro brings to the table. When the heat turns up and chaos reigns, he is the gravity holding it all together. He is the beam that keeps the roof from collapsing. He ensures the gears keep turning even when the pressure threatens to strip the screws. Team Alcaraz has seemingly bottled lightning with Alvaro, and the proof is in Carlos dominating the court week after week. The tennis world really needs to study these shadow mechanics. We obsess over grip angles and calorie counts, but the human architecture of a champion's inner circle is just as critical. The vibe check, the decision flow, the way they squash beefs, how they split the load, it all bleeds onto the scoreboard, visible or not. Championship teams aren't just a pile of resumes. They are living organisms where the chemistry creates magic that stats can't measure. For Alcaraz, having Alvaro as the hub, the fix-it guy, the glue, has sparked a perfect storm. It is not just about having elite coaches. It is about a system that funnels all that genius directly into making Carlos a monster on the clay. And the kicker? He has a guy in that. He is the architect in the shadows. The one soul Carlos trusts blindly, an ally whose devotion is forged in iron and who reads the man beneath the athlete in ways a paycheck never could. As the drama of the championship intensifies and the weight on Alcaraz's shoulders grows heavier, continues to explode, it will be fascinating to watch Alvaro's evolution. Does he grab more of the wheel? Does he step out of the shadows to become the public face of the operation? Or does he stay in the background, quietly engineering the dynasty without needing the applause? Doesn't matter. One thing is certain. Carlos knows his brother is his ace in the hole, and he is shouting it from the rooftops. That win over Mute was just the start. Yet another masterclass showcasing Alcaraz's freakish ability and warrior spirit. However, the true narrative unfolding that day extended far beyond the baseline battles. It peeled back the curtain on the actual blueprint of elite triumph, how it is built, fortified, and kept alive for the long haul. It forces us to acknowledge that even the most supernatural solo talents rely heavily on a foundation of support, where the heavy lifting is often done by figures lurking in the shadows, completely unnoticed by the cameras. Alvaro Alcaraz isn't the one blasting winners or barking orders from the box, but if you ask Carlos, his brother is the invisible anchor keeping the entire ship steady. In the pressure cooker of the ATP Tour, where a single point can decide history, possessing that bulletproof inner circle is often the secret sauce that separates a good player from a living legend. Consequently, if you have been tracking Carlos's meteoric rise and asking yourself where that magic comes from, look past the gravity-defying sprints, the audacious drop shots, and that electric charisma. Shift your gaze to the squad. In his corner, operating like a well-oiled machine where every single person executes their mission for the greater glory. And standing right at the heartbeat of that operation is Alvaro the stabilizer, the quiet guardian, the vital component who never makes the highlight reel but ensures the star can shine. This is the specific type of nuance that exposes what true sporting greatness actually looks like under the microscope. It also explains precisely why Carlos looks ready to hold the tennis world in the palm of his hand for the next decade. If this behind-the-scenes look at the secret weapons fueling Alcaraz's dominance hooked you, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you are always first in line when we dissect the hidden gears turning inside the world's best athletes. Do drop a line below. What is your take on blood relatives anchoring professional teams? Do you see Alvaro's influence expanding as Carlos climbs even higher? Appreciate you tuning in, and I will catch you on the flip side.